It is officially game week. Ohio State and Tennessee will face off in the college football playoff first round in the horseshoe over there on Saturday. It is Monday, and we have just talked to Ryan Day, offensive coordinator Chip Kelly, and a few select Buckeyes. That's the 41-year vet Tim May. I'm Spencer Holbrook. Let's talk about it, Tim, because it is officially here. We've been waiting on it for a week. We don't have to wait quite as long as we used to for the 14 playoff. The first round arrived pretty quickly. It's kind of a rapid arrival here. But now we're here. It's game week. How are you feeling about this game a week out? And then we'll get into what Ryan Day said.
I'm feeling good, man. I'm not looking forward to Saturday when the high temperature is going to be like 26, 28 degrees. But that'll be in the middle of the day, plummeting. So, of course, you had to ask a little bit of obligatory questions about the cold weather. Even Ohio State, how are you going to deal with it? They've played one cold weather game this year, which is maybe one more than Tennessee has. But the bottom line is they'll be on equal footing, pardon the expression, in that regard in both teams. But, as Will Howard reiterated, they've moved on from the Michigan game. And as Ryan Day said, the good thing was they had three weeks, so it gave you like several extra days to kind of get over that colossal loss because, you can't spell colossal without the loss. And the bottom line is seems to me they feel pretty good about where they are in terms of not just from a mojo standpoint, but also, for example, from the offensive line standpoint of, that offensive line's been through a bunch of iterations this year because of injuries, and it looks like they're going to be using another one this week. So that letting them get their feet back under them after having severe problems running a football between the tackles against Michigan, that's going to be, just like it was against Michigan, that's going to be the first thing you're going to watch in this game is Ohio State's offensive line against Tennessee's very talented defensive front. So that's just sort of a summation of what's going through my mind after listening to interviews.
Yeah, you just about covered it all. I think we can get out of here.
Okay.
No,
I didn't get into specifics, but you know what I'm saying.
Let's do some housekeeping first. Jaden Ballard not with the Buckeyes for the college football playoff. Gabe Powers not with the Buckeyes for the college football playoff. I did see Devin Brown in here today. Devin Brown is with the team for the college football playoff. He is still technically the backup quarterback, Ryan Day said, but Julian Sayin is getting quite a few reps. In Ryan Day's terms, not mine. Don't shoot the messenger. And then Kojo Antwi is still with the team. He's a big special teams piece, so I think that is noteworthy. So that's the housekeeping. The other piece of news that we got from this press conference is that, yes, Luke Montgomery has made the push. Yes, he will be a rotational part of this offensive line. It sounds, Tim, like they're going to rotate guards in this game, which I think is a bold strategy, but I can't say that it won't work. But all that being said, Luke Montgomery is going to play in this game. He's going to make his first significant contribution to this team in a big game. I know he played that Bison role in 2023 as a true freshman, but it seems like he's going to take on a larger role, and that's pretty big for this offensive line. Yeah,
and the interesting thing is we think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, but we'll see.
They stated they have three guards that they can play: Tegra Chabot, Austin Sareveld, and Luke Montgomery. So it'll be interesting what role he does play.
Yeah.
And whether or not they do get into, hey, you know what? You're just not getting to it here, man. We're going to put B in.
Yeah.
Or is it just going to be we're going to put B in anyway? Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? And C, we may throw A over to C.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who knows how they're going to mix and match? We saw both guards have difficulty at times against Michigan. A lot of times it's just one-on-one situations.
Yeah.
And Tennessee offers the same kind of challenge from the standpoint of the personnel they've got up front. And there's no reason at this point in the season. This is a one and done moment. Mm-hmm. You've either won or you're done. And that's why I would spell it.
Yeah.
W-O-N or D-O-N-E. And bottom line is there's no reason to sit there and go, well, he'll get it next series or the third series from now, and we'll be off and running, because they never got it against Michigan. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about just the line never solved Michigan when it came to the running game.
Yeah.
So, that just shows me in my opinion, they're thinking like I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Get another guy in there, see if he does better, so to speak. Or, get another guy in there, let's stay fresh. These guys are talented. So that's, in my opinion, a good way to look at it.
It seems to me like Tegra Chabot is going to stay at right guard. Austin Cerebral is going to stay at left guard. Luke Montgomery is the rotational piece. That's what it sounded like to me. We'll see if that comes to fruition. The other thing that I wanted to get into is Chip Kelly talked a lot about the Michigan game because it's the first time we've talked to him since the disaster of an offensive game plan against Michigan. And he
running game.
Well, they didn't pass it, so yeah,
they threw 33 times.
Well, okay, but anyway, agree to disagree. They didn't pass the ball enough.
Correct.
He talked about how, you often say, I think he even said it verbatim, you often say that you have to win the rushing battle to win this X game. And he said, well, you don't have to. You can do what you do best. He pretty much alluded to we didn't do the correct things against Michigan, which it's nice to hear that. It was refreshing, I think, from a certain standpoint, but it's also frustrating because you just say, well, then what were you doing? But there was some time in there in the meeting room to talk about the Michigan game, and then there was when we talked to Will Howard, who, if you brought up Michigan, he looked more and more angry each time that he talked about it. He's ready to move forward. He's certainly past that. He's still angry about it, but he's ready for the Tennessee game. It was very apparent that he was frustrated with the line of questioning about, what went wrong in the last game and how they can change it in this game. Very much a forward-looking mindset. The Buckeyes talked about that with the senior tackle out here on Sunday. Ryan Day said, I wish you guys could have heard what was said. Well, I wish we could have too, because that would have been cool to be in here.
I lost my invitation, I guess.
Yeah, the stark contrast between Chip Kelly kind of admitting that they didn't do the right things against Michigan versus Will Howard getting so angry that he was showing it when he was asked about Michigan. This team is ready to get back on the field, and they look and seem, and the feel in this building is very much excitement for finally getting that taste out of their mouth and getting back on the field against Tennessee.
Do you remember the press conference earlier this year when I asked Chip Kelly, I said, you ever get in a situation where you just kind of go, well, this isn't working, just toss it.
Yeah.
And he said, well, you got to have, he basically said, you got to prepare, you got to have a certain kind of game plan you look at and go into and kind of make the most of it. I think it was basically coming out of the Nebraska game when they could not run the ball.
Yeah.
And why did you insist on continuing to try to run the ball when you couldn't run the ball?
Yeah.
And it was just refreshing to me to hear him say what he said today, is that sometimes, you go in with a plan, but if it isn't working, you got to roll, baby. Yeah. And so I'm not feeling good about me having asked him that way back in the middle of the season, but that is the bottom line. Mm-hmm. This is, like I said, a WON or DONE game. And so and both he and Ryan Day alluded to the talent they've got at wide receiver today. Don't leave that on the shelf in a game like this. That's what sets Ohio State apart, in my opinion, from Tennessee, is the talent they've got in the passing game. I think they've got a really good passer in Will Howard, and they've got 3 or 4 guys that can beat you. Now, with that said, we all remember that Will Howard put that ball right on the hands of Carnell Tate on that little angle route over the middle on their next to last possession. Only had 2 in the fourth quarter, and Carnell Tate dropped the ball. Carnell Tate was having a hell of a game. So sometimes you can throw the ball, you still got to catch it, and you still got to run with it. And that would have been a huge play in that game. And and a guy like Chip Kelly could have thrown that in all of our face, but he didn't do that because
he took the responsibility. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But the bottom line is, but then you don't give up on it, and not that they did. The last possession against Michigan was a throwaway because they did nothing. They threw the ball, I think, all 4 downs or intended to, and it just wasn't there. But the bottom line is, where Ohio State is superior in this game is with its passing game to 3 or 4 elite receivers. Mm-hmm. You've got to take advantage of that. And then where Tennessee is elite in this game is with their defensive front, much like Michigan was. Don't let that decide the game.
Yeah.
Ohio State fans, let me tell you something about Rhoback active wear. There's only one way to describe Rhoback: best fit, best feel. For those who aren't familiar with Rhoback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Rhoback just released their new game day collection, and it's awesome. With novel polo designs and clean hoodie and Q-zip designs for some of your favorite schools, it's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else on the market is pairing this level of custom designs with the quality of activewear. Rhoback does it better. Rhoback's everyday short are the perfect pairing as well. They are comfortable, have an elastic waistband, and great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice short, but the comfort of athletic shorts. Rhoback has also proudly is also proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with college stars Jalen Milroe, the quarterback at Alabama, Quinn Ewers, quarterback at Texas, former Buckeye, and Ohio State safety Caleb Downs, one of your favorite players on the team. I know it. Among others, they're becoming the go-to brand for college athletes. They've got a lot of Ohio State stuff, the Blocko on some things, Ohio State logos all over those polos. Use the code Lettermen20 on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off the all-new for all new customers through the end of the week. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with the code Lettermen20. Go check it out. Rhoback Activewear. Enter the code Lettermen20 for 20% off your first purchase from our friends over at Rhoback. I've been rocking the Rhoback hoodie for a long time. Come join the fun. You've been wanting Rhoback. Now you've got a chance to get some Rhoback and get the Ohio State logo on Rhoback. Go to Rhoback.com, Lettermen20 for 20% off your first purchase from the folks over at Rhoback.
Don't let that dictate the terms. I think Ohio State wants to dictate terms in this game. They know they're going to have the home field. They know that they're ready to defend the horseshoe just like they did in that fight after the game against Michigan, but they want to defend it on the field. It is.
And then take the goal. And Tennessee wants to take the goalpost to the river.
Yeah, that's stupid. That's stupid social media talk.
What's worse, taking the goalpost to the river or planting your flag? I'm trying to figure it out.
Apparently, they're both a felony. But anyway, I just thought that it was very interesting that the term, putting the playmakers in the best position to win comes up more this week than it did before the Michigan game, where it was like, we got to go execute.
You recruit those guys.
Hey, we got to go execute. We got to go execute. We got to go execute. No, it's not been that talking point for this game. It's been, hey, we're going to put these guys in the best position possible because as a coaching staff, we didn't do that before.
Yes.
And Trevion Henderson talked about wanting the running game to be better and different ways that they can use the running game. Will Howard talked about it in the passing game. We didn't get to talk to Emeka Ibuka, but we will on Tuesday, apparently. Ryan Day and Chip Kelly both talked about putting the players in the best position to win, playing fast, free, loose, whatever that looks like. And it seems and actually happens is not really the same thing at all. It seems like they're going to go in with a pretty good plan of how to attack Tennessee. Now, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. We'll see what happens there. But I feel much more confident that they will have a better plan against Tennessee than I did, right after that Michigan game, where if you would ask me, hey, are they going to be able to beat Tennessee? I would have said, hell no. Like the offensive game plan looks so bad against Michigan, I can't even fathom winning a playoff game. They seem like they're over that, and they're on to, we've got to put these guys in the best position to win.
Right.
Now, then it goes on to the players to go execute and win.
Right.
But I don't think they gave them a chance to do that against Michigan. They're going to give them a chance to do that against Tennessee.
Yeah, it took me a while for Will Howard. I had to reiterate my question. I like the word reiterate. I had to put it in a couple of iterations before he finally understood what I was asking him about. Is number one, this is a game, you're going against a very good defense. You've got to make decisions now. But decisions now doesn't mean you got to just let it rip. Decisions now mean that play's not there, I got to make something else happen.
Yeah.
And the great quarterbacks through history into the NFL, he watches the NFL obviously, just like everybody else. So much comes down to that guy with the ball in his hands of getting you from a crappy play into a good play in a matter of seconds, not going back to the sideline and looking at the pad and figuring out I should have done this on that play, because that play's gone.
Yeah.
That opportunity is gone. And he finally had got what I was asking him about. And this once you get into the playoffs, it comes down to your trigger man, your quarterback, making plays in some form or fashion. That doesn't mean always with his feet, doesn't mean always with his arm. Sometimes it's with his brain. Most of the time it's with his brain. So I think he's fired up about that. It seemed to pique his interest a little bit when I was asking him about that, because that's what separates the good quarterbacks from the great quarterbacks. That's what separates a good team from a great team once you get into the playoffs, when things are much more even across the board. Like I asked him about the smaller windows you're dealing with when you're throwing the ball against a Tennessee defense compared to Marshall. And running. The windows are in the running game just like they are in the passing game. The windows are smaller. The players are better.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to fight off blocks occasionally. It's not going to be all clean. I just keep thinking about, if you could just watch the first 3 quarters, if I wanted to be inspired, I'd watch the first 3 quarters of C.J. Stroud against Georgia 2 years ago, and watch a quarterback making plays, moving around in the pocket,
making things happen,
rolling out, finding his number one guy more often than not. The number one guy in this case, I think you'd have to say, is Jeremiah Smith, but Emeka Egbuka's right there. That's what it takes as you move up the line here, move up the ladder in the college football playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Emeka as well, though, because he had over 100 yards in that.
I included him.
He had over 100 yards in that Georgia game. He had 100 yards in the 2023 edition of the Michigan game, 2 versus 3, a 30-24 classic that Ohio State just came up on the short end of. He hasn't been involved near enough, and I think that's part of the plan of getting the best playmakers the ball. It's like Emeka Egbuka is really damn good. Get him the football. So, we didn't get to talk to him today. We'll probably talk to him.
But like against Michigan this year, like against Missouri last year, like against Georgia before, like against Michigan the previous year, you got to finish.
Yeah, these are all losses we're talking about.
The fourth quarter, playing in the fourth quarter is the key in a game like this. This is a heavyweight fight that's going to go the distance.
Yeah, and the bottom line here, and we'll wrap up on this, is like Ohio State lost to Michigan. Everybody knows that. And I don't want to minimize what the game means, but it's a little bit of a difficult conversation to have. It's like, it's not the path that you wanted, but you're in the college football playoff. There's only one thing left to do, and that, the phrase, like, go win the whole thing. Yeah. So, like, yeah, you lost to Michigan, but, like, if you're just going to sit there and stew on it, and I'm talking to fans too, like, if you're just going to sit there and stew on it, then what good is it going to do? That game's over. So, like, this team appears to have turned that corner and appears to be super ready to go into the Horseshoe on Saturday night at 8 p.m. on ABC and beat Tennessee.
Yeah.
And because if they don't, then they'll deal with the consequences. But, like, they're not going to get to play Michigan again. Michigan's not in the playoff. And Michigan beat Ohio State, but you'd much rather be Ohio State on December 16th or 17th or whatever day it is. Like, you're in the playoff. You're one of 12, and Chip Kelly said this, they're one of 12 teams that still has a chance to win a national championship. So you might as well go win. So,
yeah. Well, there's a lot of panache to the ReliaQuest Bowl.
Yeah, sure.
But bottom line, But see, here's the thing. That's why these two teams are so interesting to me, is Tennessee has had just as disappointing a season to a certain extent. They lose at Arkansas to a mediocre Arkansas team, just like Ohio State lost to a mediocre Michigan team in terms of record. They lost, then Tennessee lost the only game it really needed to win,
Georgia,
which was at Georgia. Ohio State lost the really only game it really needed to win to get to the Big Ten championship game and a shot at the Big Ten championship. Michigan, a mediocre Michigan team. So these teams, their fan base is they're probably fired up to be in the college football playoff. But the flip side of it is they've had almost the same kind of disappointing season up to now. This is a brand new season.
Yeah.
This is like being a wild card team in the National Football League playoffs. You can still win it all.
Yeah, you certainly can. Ohio State's first step toward trying to win it all comes Saturday night at 8 o'clock on ABC and in that big bad Horseshoe over there. Tim May, the 41-year vet, he's going to be there every step of the way, as well as myself, Spencer Holbrook, Mick Walker as well, Alex Gleitman on the recruiting side. We're breaking transfer portal news in the meantime. We're talking Ohio State football. We're talking Ohio State transfer portal targets. Go to LettermenRow.com. Go to the Letterman Lounge message board. Get all of that coverage right now because we're talking about the portal. We're talking about the Buckeyes. A little bit of basketball stuff, but they're pretty bad. Tim, Spencer, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys back in here on Tuesday for another edition of the program after we talk to more Buckeyes. We'll see you in here Wednesday, additionally, and then Saturday at 8 p.m. in the Horseshoe for Ohio State, Tennessee, and the college football playoff.